Good morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name is Ross, and as always told, out of Voice of Radio. So today, we're going to be taking a look at a new Zangoose. And when I started planning this video, sitting down, doing a script and all that, I had a look and I went, hang on a second, when was the last time we got a Zangoose? Yeah, it was in Team Up. Apparently Zangoose is back, ladies and gentlemen. Now, if we start off having a look at the basics, I'm not terribly impressed. It's a colourless Pokemon, which means no extra advantages whatsoever. We don't even have double colourless energy anymore. We have triple acceleration energy, which won't work because Zangoose isn't an evolved Pokemon. We've got a weakness to fighting, which means that a Buzzwole with a Diancie Prism Star will get an easy one-hit KO, and we see a lot of those around. You're hitting nothing for weakness being a colourless Pokemon. I mean, it's not looking good, ladies and gentlemen. Now, to be fair, you do have a retreat cost of 1, which means you can either use a skateboard to retreat when you're asleep or paralysed, while reducing your retreat cost by 1. Or you can reduce your retreat cost by 1 with U-turn board, while being safe in the knowledge that if that gets discarded from the field, not your hand, you get to bring it back, and it goes straight back to your hand, and then yay, and etc. Okay, so we like the retreat cost. But we don't like the typing, we don't like the weakness, we don't like the amount of HP, it has no resistance, it's not looking great. And as for the first attack, I mean, it almost couldn't be worse. 1 colourless energy, 10 damage. But you're not hitting anything for weakness. And we don't have Choice Band at the moment, and we don't have Professor Kukui, so it's literally 1 energy, 10 damage, and that's how it's staying. Bad, Zangoose. Bad. But the reason Zangoose gets his own video is for the second attack, and I could see this second attack being teched into a whole bunch of decks. 2 colourless energy, 20 damage. This attack does 10 more damage for each damage counter on the defending Pokemon. Okay. Yeah, we like this. It's like a reverse Outrage attack. We've seen Outrage on a billion Pokemon. I mean, right now we see it on Reshiram and Charizard. There's a really cool Tauros that actually has revenge for all the damage counters on all of your Tauros. Though we did also have Tauros GX that had 2 of these kind of attacks. And, I mean, they're everywhere. But the attacks that do more damage depending on how much is on the defending Pokemon, we don't see that very much, and I think that puts Zangoose as a Pokemon to watch. For those wondering, we did get one of these not that long ago. In Lost Thunder, we did get Mimikyu GX, Let's Snuggle and Fall. 1 fairy, 1 colourless energy, 10 damage, plus 30 more for each damage counter on the defending Pokemon. And it was a basic, but people didn't want to tech in a GX basic just on the off chance. Here, however, we're loving it. Because there are a bunch of things that we can do to drop damage on the defending Pokemon, or on all the Pokemon, and then we can really start taking advantage of this to come in and sweep. This is a kind of Pokemon that you're just not using in the early game. This is a kind of Pokemon where you have 1 or 2 on your bench and you sit and you chill and you wait. And then you come in and go absolutely nuts. And you end up doing like 300 damage to a Magikarp and Wailord and getting a 1-hit KO. And kind of laughing because it's kind of funny and kind of brilliant. Alright. Cool. So what kind of things are we looking at here? Now, one of the obvious ones right off the bat is Shrine of Punishment. Shrine of Punishment is a wonderful card that puts 1 damage counter on each EX and GX Pokemon between turns. Now, obviously, in this situation, you don't play any EX or GX Pokemon. That would be extremely silly. Don't do it. You will regret it. And then all of your opponent's EXs and GXs get 1 damage counter dropped on them between turns. And this builds up over a little while, and then as it builds up, you're golden. And you get to just come in and do a huge amount of damage. That's nice. But maybe they're not EX and GX Pokemon, maybe they're basic Pokemon. Well, in that case, how about the new Weezing? I did a video just the other day about how Weezing is actually legitimately a good Pokemon that's seeing quite a lot of play and success. And between turns, it drops 1 damage counter on each of your opponent's basic Pokemon. Not to mention the fact that the attack then does 20 damage to each Pokemon with any damage on. And you're just sitting there and you're chucking a whole bunch of damage around. A whole bunch of damage is getting onto the field. And that means that something like Zangoose can come in and clean up. You essentially do 20 more damage than is on them. Because of how quickly this escalates, you only need to actually put 130 damage on a Reshiram and Charizard. Because then Zangoose comes along, and Zangoose doesn't do 130, it does 150. 130 plus 150 is 280, and that is enough to take down a Reshiram and Charizard. So even these big bad tag team GXs, you're really now aiming to get like 130 damage on, and then this basic Pokemon for 2 energy can come in and finish them off and take free prizes. That seems good. Now, we are losing a couple Pokemon we'd probably rather have with this. We're losing Tapu Koko, we're losing Latios, but we're getting Noivern, that for 1 colourless energy does 20 damage to all of your opponent's Pokemon. You spread around rather nicely indeed, and then you get to come in with Zangoose and you get to clean up. Now, the other thing which is really important here is that we're losing some of the Pokemon we'd usually use here. So what a lot of people liked using in these kind of decks before was Honchkrow. This is the Honchkrow from Guardians Rising, that for a double colourless energy does 10 damage, plus 10 for each damage counter on all of your opponent's Pokemon. And this is better, and has seen some play, but it's rotating out. It's also a stage 1. This is nice. I think Noivern becomes great with this, and I love Weezing with it, and I love Shrine of Punishment. But there's a million different things. I mean, I showed you a Rapidash the other day that does 30 to the active, 30 to the bench, and has free retreat. That could work out quite nicely. I don't like the fact that you're not hitting for weakness. That makes me a little bit sad. But this is the kind of Pokemon where you can really start doing some damage. I mean, you sit there with Weezing, and one of the things that happens quite a lot is that you're just never KOing. So let's say you've got, let's just say a bunch of 180 HP Pokemon, Rayquaza, Blacephalon, use whichever one you want. So Weezing comes in and puts 10 damage on between turns, 40 to the active with the attack, and 20 damage to all the bench that have damage counters on. So after turn 1, they all go up to 10. After their turn, they go up to 20. Then you attack and they go up to 40. And after your turn, they go up to 50. And after your opponent's turn, they go up to 60. Then you attack and they go up to 80. And then after your turn, they go up to 90. You see where we're going with this? Although you're getting a whole bunch of damage on the field, it's taking several turns to actually get the KO here. Whereas what you can do is just put them up to, say, 80 damage. And then when they're up to 80 damage, you get to do 100, and oh look, now they're up to 180. And that's the point of Zangoose here. Zangoose comes in and goes, oh, you're already on 80, well, I can do 100 and put you up to 180. And now, all of a sudden, instead of having Weezing coming in turn after turn after turn, dropping damage and trying to get up to the right number, you need a couple of turns of Weezing. You get everything up to like 100, and then Zangoose comes in, hits 120, they're up to 220 total, etc. I adore Zangoose here. I don't think it's for every deck. I think there are many, many decks out there that just cannot use Zangoose, where it just won't work. But I think there are a bunch of decks out there that will. Incidentally, most of the decks that will play Tapu Lele to rearrange damage counters on your opponent's side of the field. So what you can do with Tapu Lele here is not just take KOs by moving all the damage onto stuff, but you can move damage around using Tapu Lele so that your opponent's Pokemon are all perfectly within range of Zangoose. There's no choice band anymore, so that is a bit of a pain, but I think a lot of people will be surprised how quickly something like Zangoose will actually add up here. and it's a single prize Pokemon. It doesn't take damage from Shrine of Punishment. It's colorless energy. And look, in terms of the energy cost, no, we don't have double colorless energy. No, it can't use triple acceleration energy, but you can use Welder, you can use Malamar, you can use Tapu Koko, Prism Star. There's like a million different Pokemon out there at the moment, and non-Pokemon that can accelerate the energy on, so it's not something I really think you should worry about. I really like Zangoose. I'm giving it, let's go 4 Wassies. I don't think it's going to see play in a huge amount of decks, but I do think it will see play in some decks, and I think in the decks it sees play in, it will be great. Maybe it's a bit generous. It feels a bit generous, if I'm honest, but I really do like it. Except for the first attack and basically all the stats. Hey-ho. But I'd like to know what you think about it, ladies and gentlemen. So do please let me know in the comment section. Go nuts, be nice, and then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at The Wassy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do exactly that. And please do make sure you're checking out youtube.com/WassyPlays, where we talk about games that don't even have any Pokemon in. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves until next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.